Oh, it is going to be such a good show today. Kathleen Giles, tell us what you're going to do today.
I'm going to show you how to eliminate clutter from your paintings to make a more dramatic painting.
So, what does that mean? Eliminate clutter? What kind of clutter?
I just often find that when we're painting a portrait or a face, students sometimes just put uh, too many distracting elements that aren't necessary. So we want to focus where people look, and I want a lot of my paintings to tell a story. So I am adding elements, but I also am going to demonstrate how to make them not dominate from the face.
Awesome. So, you're going to show us what kind of things are creating clutter, making the paintings not as good. You're going to show us how to eliminate that stuff, what kind of stuff you want to put in, and how to support the story you're trying to tell. Let's
Yes.
get this show officially started. You
It's
nailed
Art School Live with Eric Rhoads. Now, here's your host, Eric Rhoads.
Welcome to Art School Live. We're here every weekday at 12 noon, and we're going to teach you to paint. If you don't believe you can do it, hang around. You're going to get it, because we believe anybody can learn to paint, and this is the place to do it. So today we have a guest, Kathleen Giles, and Kathleen is an incredible painter. Look at that. That is a painting. Can you believe that? That's pretty incredible. Here's another one, and this is a great example of telling a story with a painting. And here is another great example of telling a story. She is such an amazing painter, and she's going to show you today how she does it. Kathleen, I know you're ready. Let's get this show officially going here. Let's do it. Oops, there we go.
Okay.
So
Okay.
tell us a little bit about what you've got here. It looks to me like this painting's already done.
Yes, I've got just a few examples very quickly. I'm going to discuss how we eliminate. Now, a lot of times there was a doorway behind this when I took this photograph of this gentleman. So I removed it. It had nothing to do with the fact that I wanted to paint his face. His clothes and all these things support a little bit of the story. Every face we paint does have a story, but just the ragged edges and the detail, but you'll notice everything gets softer as I move away, and the background is just a triad, okay? It's just three colors making a gray. So here, another portrait.
Can you lower that down? Lower it down, because the little numbers in the top are getting in the way. We can't see it. Bring it towards you. Bring it down towards you. A little more, a little more, a little more. There we go.
All right. I don't see that on my screen, so
it's okay.
But here, so I want you to photograph on my grandson and the reflection. That's what I'm painting. The background was all green, so I eliminated a lot of that distraction of the trees and the water, and that it would be too much green. So I took the color out, and then his shirt, the black of his shirt, just catches your eye right away. And then you travel down and look at all this interesting stuff here in the bottom, the reflection. But then we always are drawn back to this dark shape, and a face is always going to dominate in our picture. I just didn't want too much to take away from that. Again, this is just a classic portrait. You'll notice the background. When I took the photograph, there was a window and curtains. I removed that, and I have elements to tell my story. The tear running down her face, and then the rosary. Obviously, this is a woman praying. This is Tears for Ukraine. But you'll see that I've just simplified it because I want you to see her anguish, and her skin was important to me, not the background. This one becomes more of a story that I'm telling. So I do have a few elements. I have a brooding sky, and I have this bird, and this is Life is Learning to Fly. But I don't have a ship going by or anything like that. I'm focusing again on my story, And keeping on this one, I used warm color surrounded by cool color. So the warm color of her dress and hair and arm pull us in so that we see her and she dominates over the interesting water. You're always going to come back to the figure. This was a successful painting for me, but it's again a narrative style. That means I'm telling a story. This is a woman thinking about where is my youth, looking in the mirror, and I do have some detail here on this mirror, but then it takes us right back up to my figures where I have my narrative details. Okay, another one, just a Santa Claus. And I added, now this has other elements in it, but what I did was I purposely grayed them down. I kept taking washes of gray and actually going over these things in the background. This is a lot of shape and interest in this one. You'll notice how dark this teddy bear is. We're pushing everything back so that he's the dominant figure. So this would look cluttered if everything was treated with the same light. So here I'm using light and value to make you look where I want you to look. This figure is brighter. So I have a painting that I've been working on, and I'm going to pull this over. And this is a painting of my granddaughter. I'm going to zoom out a little bit and
She's a
try
beauty.
Thank you. Yeah, she's a beautiful girl. So this is the top of the painting. We're not going to be looking at that too much today. So this is again what I would call a narrative style painting, and I'm doing a series, Life Is. This is Life is Beautiful. So I'm supporting my idea of beauty, not only with a beautiful girl, but I've got flowers, which I consider to be beautiful, and then I've got her dress where I'm painting the patterns of the dress. So when I took the reference photo, there was a garage back here, just all this stuff. We don't want to put anything in that's going to detract from our story that we're trying to tell. So the other thing I want to do is I want to have my tightest details around her face, okay? So I've got a lot of detail in the hair, and these flowers are going to be tighter. As I come out to the edge here, you'll notice that these are softer. These flowers were added after I painted the background by scrubbing them out. So they're never going to be as white as this. And that's all by plan, okay? So down here, where I've started adding some detail on her dress, this whole area has a light wash of gray over it, so that no matter how much detail I put in here, it can't compete with the white of the paper in this area. So the idea is that we really direct where people look by how we use our values and our detail placement. So get out anything that doesn't tell your story, and then keep your details where you want me to keep coming back. So I was going to demonstrate that I would paint one of these. I was going to try and do a couple of these real quick. Tight, I'm going to show you. So with watercolor, the easiest way to get a tight detail is to leave our paper dry. So as boring as it probably sounds, we're going to actually paint each petal individually. So you wet the petal that you're going to paint, hopefully with a clean brush. Off camera, I have a car wash sponge wrapped in paper towel, and it's been used. It dries out overnight. But I tamp off on this all the time, and it helps me control how much water's in my brush. Because in a minute, I'm going to do a little wet into wet painting, and I just need to have my brush. I need to know how much water's in my brush all the time. It just helps me control it. Now, if I've wet the edge of this petal, the paint's only going to go where I apply it. That's how I can control and have tight edges here, okay? I think that's, I think I'm explaining that well enough. So I take a little darker color on the shadow side of this and just find that in there, and I can work in this area. So this actually is kind of a tiny wet into wet painting that I'm doing. So I'm building that up. Now I'm going to just add I'll add a little bit of blue to it to gray it, because I do have a little shadow there. Now, one of the other things I did with this composition is I added other flowers. So she had this flower in her hand. Then I added these in a computer program. So I've got to, whenever we do something like that, I've got to find the edge of those. I got to find the stems within my design. But so now if I build this up this way, now I can let that dry and come over and do another one. The other thing is I want my pencil to be really light. So I often, by this point of the painting, I can't even see my pencil. When we're doing something really light like this, we don't want heavy pencil in there. I trust myself to find the shape again. And it's never too late to even draw again. But with watercolor, one of the I guess a handicap, if you put your pencil on, as soon as you wet the paper, it's hard to erase the pencil. So I'd rather keep my pencil quite light, and then as I go along, if I say, oh, I really need to be able to see that better, I can always draw again. Once the paper's been wet, if I put on some value, then I can more easily lift it because the paper's already been wet and dried. So here I'm just building up a little value on this one. So each petal gets its own attention. And then as I go along, you know, it's a slow process, but then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this looks great. You know, it's like anything in watercolor, we're building these values. Some of these shapes are so small, this little leaf, this petal coming down into her hand, that I can actually just wet it with my wash. I don't have to pre-wet all these small shapes, but I can get this color in here. I want to be mindful to get my values right. All these values are so important. The fact that the petals below these are in shadow, and a lot of times we get something looking good and we don't really want to go back in and darken it, but we really have to. We have to work in there until we've got enough value to tell the story of this depth inside of these flowers. This is a dahlia. They're pretty complicated, but I've enjoyed it. You know, I really find painting to be almost like a meditative thing. I come out here and in my studio and have music on and just sit and paint, and it's a good escape from reality. I think it's just one of the wonderful gifts of being an artist. But I start to get that shape in, and then I'm always looking at my reference. If you want to paint realistically, I think you have to have a good reference photo. Now this one that I just painted has set up enough that I can throw in a few just pink contours that I see in there. But so you get the idea that as I go around here, this is going to be very realistic looking, as realistic as I can make it. Now, on the other side of that idea is to paint, to pre-wet an area and put something in. So I can add detail to my painting as long as I'm aware of knocking things back in value. Remember, around Santa Claus, I knocked the background down by graying it. So anything we gray, I mix my own grays with a triad. A triad's 3 colors. So 3 colors mixed together make a gray, or you can gray a color. So that's what I'm actually doing here. This background blue is a very bright color on its own, but then when I add, I use a perline maroon to add to it, and it grays it down enough that it's not overpowering, but I'm repeating the blue in the dress because I want unity all throughout the painting. So I'm going to lay this up here. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you that right before we came on, I wet this whole area here, and while this was all wet, I painted these shapes. Now I can come back in and I can add more detail to them, but I don't want too much. This is starting to get down where I want things to be looser and softer, so that you kind of glance at them and you'll see them somewhat, but then you're just going to keep wanting to come back up where all the detail is. So here I put this in, like I say, wet into wet, and now I still can come back and I can add more shaping. Because I wet the whole thing, it's not going to be as realistic as somewhere here where I have more of a highlight. And another thing is, as I go, I'm always adjusting things. So I might, when I get this in, I may say, oh, you know, this needs to be lighter. So I take my little scrubby brush, put a little water on there, wait a second, and then I can pull out a little more of a highlight because I want this one to be more noticeable. Okay, I want that one to have more drama. So I could find a highlight here. These little movements between light and dark really entertain the eye, and that's what we're always doing. We're always entertaining the eye, or trying to. But I've been teaching for, oh my gosh, I think 36 years. And I just find that a lot of times students want to add too much. They want to add too much. And I always say, well, what are you trying to say with this painting? What is your point? You know, I just can think of different things where students had references, and maybe there's a fence in the background or something, and I'll say that is not part of your story. And I would think a chain link fence is one of the hardest things to paint. So if you don't have to put it in, don't. But here you can see that I'm building some of the value, but because I pre-wet it, it's really staying pretty soft. Now there I just put some phthalo green on. That's a very bright color. So immediately I'm going to tone it down by adding a little perline maroon, and that grays the green, pushes it back in color, and then I ask myself, is that too much value there? And I have to think about it. Like I can decide, I can pull it out. But I'm just putting a little bit of detail here, definitely less than was on the other ones. So another thing we can do in watercolor is we can leave that on there and kind of stain the paper, but then I can pull that off a little bit. So I've got a feeling of some detail, but it's quite blurry. And I keep taking my brush and just touching this edge. If I keep this soft, it's just not, look at how much tighter her hair is. So I really would like you to understand from this. I'm going to push this back so I can lift this up a little bit. I don't know, Eric, can you see that okay? Does that look? So I'm going to wet this area, all right?
Looks good to me.
Okay. So I'm talking about that the flowers had the white of the paper. Like here, we have the white of the paper. Nothing's going to compete with this if it's all been wet and had some color on it. So what do you mean, Kathy? Well, let me get a bigger brush here. Let's go in with the big brush. And I made a loose drawing that you probably can't see because I don't like a lot of pencil on there. This is also the time that, you know, when I paint her arm, I glaze over it many times in order to get the amount of contouring value that I want. We always want any subjects that are round, we want to show that contour. Actually, I'll wet right past this because this edge is going to need to be softened. So I'm just very conscious of soft edges, graying color, all that kind of stuff is what we're going to do. Like this flower over here was painted afterwards. I made it up. So I scrubbed out that highlight, and you can see that it's bluer than this. It's never going to compete with that. So I have a lot of freedom to add color and then remove it. One of the things I found, let's see here. Here we're going to go right in with our blue. The yellow, the foliage is green. So if I have blue, it's going to work fine. You know, if I needed something here to be pink, I would have to be careful going in with the blue because it would color the paper so much. But here I think I can just move this color a little bit, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to demonstrate what I'm talking about. Now, because I wet this edge, this is just going to kind of diffuse out here for me, which is perfect. So I want to get a little more saturation in here, so I just wet that whole area with my blue, but that's not dark enough, is it? So let me get a little more of this color. This is, I think this is peacock. It's one of those things, I put these colors in my palette, and I write along the edge. I have two in a well, and I write along the edge what they are, and then it eventually gets worn off. But I believe this is peacock. It's a very bright blue. It's a beautiful blue that I don't use very often. So I am using the largest brush that I can, and I can still see my pencil, so that's good. Here I have a color change. This is kind of important. So I want to pull that pearly maroon into my brush.
Hey, Kathleen, is there any chance you could zoom out so they can see your palette for a second?
I can pull it over, but it's on a chair. This is my palette. So I have big wells. So I'm going right into the wells.
Thank you.
I could have it sitting here. I just didn't want to.
No, that's fine. It's just somebody wanted to see it.
Okay. Yeah. If there's any questions, just ask me. But so I added that perline to the wash so that I'm not having a color change right on the stem. You know, that's one of the things that right away will maybe make your painting look a little amateurish. You don't have a big color or value change from one side of a stem to the other. So that's something we want to watch for. So because I wet out here, this glaze that I put on is just going to kind of diffuse together. So now what am I going to do? I've got this on here. Now I can intensify this blue. I'm going to want to. But right now, I want to get my greens started. And the fact that this is all wet, we know it's going to be harder edged than these, okay? So that's what this is about. It's adding stuff without just muddying things up too much. All right, so I'm going to go into my yellow. You can see a little bit of my palette there. Now, this paper's so wet that if I'm adding color, I don't want too much water in my brush. If I've got too much water in my brush, this is just going to go all over the place. So you can see that it's shiny wet, but let me get a little warmer color in here. So if I take my yellow and draw down here like this, if I don't have a lot of water in my brush, just color, then I can really pretty much draw on the paper. So I can start to find these shapes that I've drawn. And again, I'm going to want to try to keep this pretty loose. And this didn't, and it will be loose because I've got wet edges, right? So I can, what's happening here is I'm applying color, but I'm also picking up water. And that's something that we need to be conscious of. So I take that water out of my brush, then I come back over here. I let my paint set up. You know, this is not fresh paint. So I let them dry a little bit because I figure then they're more concentrated. It's let some of that water evaporate, and I can go in there wet into wet. So I can come into my yellow and then maybe come into a color down here. I'm not contaminating the whole puddle of color. So let's see. On my reference, I couldn't see where this was going. So I'm just going to make up a bottom here and connect it to this stem. Now, I want these original washes to be quite loose. So I'm not too worried about the color I'm putting on, or really, I'm not studying the reference too much at this point, other than to know I want some shapes here. Once I've gotten these in with a loose edge, I can come back and re-wet the whole thing and paint them as long as it takes to get them where I want them to go. Now
Hey, Kathleen,
yeah.
I think we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. And then
Okay.
just get yourself a glass of water and we'll be right back.
Okay.
All right. Terrific. Our guest today is Kathleen Giles, or Giles. Is it Giles or Giles?
It's
Well,
Giles.
Giles.
It's
Okay.
Giles.
Apologies.
Yeah.
Okay. Terrific. And we're learning how to eliminate clutter in our paintings, which is so important. And she is, don't you agree? She's a great, great artist. Put that in the comments. She is so good. Hey, I want to tell you guys, we've got an event coming up. It's called Watercolor Live. It is a 4-day online conference for watercolor artists with the 24 of the world's leading watercolorists. And that's coming up January 21 through 23. If you can't make the dates, there are replays that come with your package. And you can discover the secrets of watercolor and a lot of different techniques and styles and approaches. So make sure to check that out. Also, wanted to tell you guys that I have a big event coming up. Everybody's talking about the snow and the cold, and they're saying it's going to be a record winter, you know, with airport closures and ice and snow and big storms coming. So if you plan now, you can escape that and come painting with me in the 75-degree weather on the beach in Hilton Head Island and Savannah, Georgia. It's called Winter Escape, Winter Art Escape. Watch this right now.
Every February, it happens. Gray skies, the freezing winds, blowing snow, the endless shoveling, power outages, and closed airports. Winter doesn't just chill your bones, it drains your inspiration. But what if instead of scraping ice, you were setting up your easel under the warm sun? What if instead of gray, you were surrounded by color? This February, join us for Eric Rhoads' second Winter Art Escapes Artist Retreat for a week of painting in the sunshine of Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, and Savannah, Georgia. Paint the breathtaking coastal marshes, the roaring ocean, historic Victorian homes and town squares, trees dripping with Spanish moss and golden sunsets. With every detail handled, your room, your meals, your painting agenda, all you have to do is show up, paint, and connect. You deserve a solid week of painting and making friends. Spots are limited to just 100 artists, and they're filling fast. Don't spend another February stuck indoors. Escape winter. Recharge. Paint with us at Winter Art Escape.
Going to be a blast. We have a lot of fun. We feed you, we put you up, we tell you where to go. I don't mean like that. And we go painting together. We give you a map. We paint in the same places together every day, or you can go off on your own. And then we have dinner together. We have lunch. We have we sit up at night and we sing and we play music and we do portraits. It's like summer camp, but for adults who paint. And you don't have to be a good painter. You can be a crummy painter. You can be an early painter. It doesn't matter. We don't judge you. We're all in different places. We're there to have fun. So check it out at winterartescape.com. Okay, now we're going to get back to Kathleen, who is, by the way, blowing us all away. You're doing such a great job, Kathleen.
Thank you. The painting sounds wonderful. Your program you got coming.
Thank you. It's pretty swell.
Yeah. So as I go, my paper's drying, but you can see I've been able to build this value, but it just has that soft, dreamy edge. I'm going to zoom in a little bit tighter and see if you can see it better there. That's a little better.
That's right.
Is that clear to everybody, Eric, there?
Yep.
So as I'm going, you can see I'm building color and I'm not going into any water. I'm just adding value and little shapes. Now I can see veins on this leaf, but I don't want that. That's not what this
It'd
is
be
about.
distracting. Deborah
Right.
Clark says, I want to be Kathleen when I grow up.
Well, that's nice, Deborah. You're very kind. This is my husband says that I'm a 35-year overnight success.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of work, but you can control watercolor. That's what I like to teach. I like to teach that you really can. And wet into wet painting is so exciting. Now here you can see my edges were getting harder, and I don't necessarily want that. You get to a certain stage where the paper's getting too dry, and then what we want to do is hair dry it and come back and just brush over it. So the other thing I didn't mention yet is that I use, I'm starting to bubble a little bit. I don't take this is 300 pound. I don't know if you want the paper name, Eric, but this is 300 pound cold press. And so what I want to do here, where I'm starting to get too dry, is take a smaller brush. Another thing, we can control how much water's in our brush too. If you're having trouble with it, a synthetic is not going to hold as much water as a sable. So I have quite a few sable blends that I really do like, but this is just a synthetic. So it's just slightly damp, and I can come through here and just soften these edges. I can do it now, or I can wait until it's dry, but I'll want to blur these out a little bit, because remember, we want you to be looking down, or up here, I'm sorry, looking up here. So as I go, the other really cool thing about this is, while this is still damp and it's not set up yet, I can find a few highlights. So if I wet my brush and I drive down through here, it's just, I'm wet as in maybe depositing a little bit. So I drive right down through here, depositing a little bit of water. What am I doing? I'm messing with the surface tension, and I'm just creating a tiny background. So I can, if I got that other side in, I can do this where I need a highlight. So say I'm working on this one and I want to see this stem better. So I just come through here and just slowly drag over it. This one may have gotten too dry. I think, yeah, I'm getting some movement. So while it's still that damp, we can do that. Now I'm re-wetting that stem, and I can take some of the color out of my palette and come down. Let's see. Normally the top, the flower top, throws a little bit of a shadow onto the stem. And then I want to think about the light's pretty much coming above her down like this. So I'll throw a shadow down the right side, just a little bit. Because we do, even though this is softer, we do want to see some contouring. I didn't paint the stem yet because it's actually warmer. So I think what I'll do, this is Yeah, I could tape this now, but this is cool to the touch. The paper is still damp, but I don't think I'm necessarily going to get any movement here. So I'm going to go ahead and paint it. I'm going to paint these stems in. If I start to get movement, I'll show you how to fix that. And if I don't, I may want to soften it when it's dry or as it's drying. So
Will
I'm
you
just
do us a
wetting
favor, Kathleen, and just zoom out for a second for people new coming in so they can see the whole picture?
the whole picture.
Yeah, so they can see what you're trying to do there. Oh, it's pretty big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a handicap, but I wanted to tell this story. I thought it was interesting that this, look at how sharp this one is. These were pulled out after I put the background in by scrubbing and laying in color.
How
Watercolor.
many thousands of hours do you have into that painting?
You know what, Eric? I don't keep track. It would probably be too depressing. But I paint them till they're done.
You have
Is what I always
incredible
tell people.
patience. I don't
'Cause
think I have
people,
patience like that.
I think you do. Yeah, and that's what I was saying though. You get caught up in this world, you know, and I have a guilty pleasure. I still listen to a soap opera, so I record that, and I get out here, and I'm in my own world,
I
and
think if
that's
I had a chance to take a workshop, yours would be the one I pick.
well, that's very kind of you. I do have a lot of people that enjoy my teaching, and I'm very, very thankful. So I'm just going to throw a warmer color down the stem. Let's see. So this is actually a little bit of a color that I don't use very often, but this is a little quinacridone gold, because that's what I see here. That's the color I see. So I'm kind of washing that in all along here. Now I want to dirty it down and show a little bit of contour. So I'm going to go, and I spritzed my colors before we started. So I have it's actually from the beauty supply, but I have a little fine mist sprayer.
Those are
And
the best.
yeah, and I also will spritz my painting. So that's what I started to say. I use staining paints. Okay.
What's
I
the
use
difference?
I use staining transparent paints, and stainers are what their name implies. They stain the paper like a blueberry would stain our teeth or our white slacks. And that way, when these are dry, I can just spritz over. So say I let this dry for an hour. I can come back out, and maybe I want to work on this again and I want that movement again. I can just spritz this. If I'm trying to hold the edge of her arm, I don't want to spritz, I want to brush. So that's why I had brushed the water on. So once this sets up really well, now I'm going with a darker color. I'm taking a little bit of my burnt sienna. And again, I'm reading my reference. I'm looking at where my shadow falls, because even though this is softer, I still want it to look realistic. So I'm
Where do you
coming
live,
down.
Kathleen? In the chat, somebody's asking.
Pardon me?
Where's home for you? Where do you live?
Western New York. We're Buffalo Bills country.
Oh, okay. Big game the other night.
Yeah. It's touch and go here for us all the time, but it's pretty exciting.
You guys are watching, make sure to share this and tell me in the chat where you're watching from. And I think we need to get a little soap opera action going in the chat to get a little. So since Kathleen needs a soap opera, I'll read them out to you guys.
Well, it's again, it's a good distraction. You get out here, and I really enjoy my painting time. It's what a gift to be an artist, and it's just wonderful. If I encourage anybody, if you haven't painted, it's so wonderful. So what I'm getting here is I'm adding this color, getting a little bit of a bleed along this edge. And this is nothing to be scared of or anything like that. I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit. Wait a minute. How are we doing on time?
We've
Um,
got about, maybe 15 minutes.
okay.
Maybe,
So
yeah, so
I'm
maybe 12.
going to add. I'm one of the things that I do is I know all my paints. I know what my paints are going to do. When I go in and take a color, I I know how it's going to behave. I just threw a little bit of sap green on here. Some artists don't like sap green. It's called a convenience color, and it is convenient. And when you're painting a lot of greens, it's nice to just go into it once in a while. But so I wanted to add a little bit of that. I don't think I can see more detail in my reference. I don't think I want it here. This leaf obviously needs to be painted. This one's going to have a little more value, and this will probably need more value. But I want to get these in on this wash, and then what I normally do is I go in, make a cup of tea, throw in a load of laundry or something, come back and look at it. I don't want to go too far. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just taking a little clean water and I'm coming along this edge. I can control this. So this is all about what I call surface tension. Because this stem is wetter than the paper now, it's spreading out, okay? So if I take water and come along the edge, so I come out like here, okay, so I'm coming like this side now, dampening this a little bit. And what am I going to do? I don't want to flood water in here, but I want to come here and touch this. So if I touch this, I'm just saying, okay, diffuse gently, but I'm putting water here that's creating pressure against that edge. That's the surface tension. If you can figure that out, you can control the world in watercolor. So here, again, I'm wetting this and I'm coming down. I'm just going to touch against there, and I've made surface tension or pressure by putting this water here, and then they're just going to kind of coexist together. If one starts to go where I don't want it, then I'll get back in here with my brush and I'll direct traffic. But there, I've kept that edge soft, and I've got that in there. That's softer than some of these other edges are going to be. And I'm creating the value, but the softness that I want down here. Another thing that has happened during this process is I've got a hard edge along her arm. This is going to need more value here, so I'm not too worried about it yet, but I probably, if I look up at the rest of the painting, let's have a look here. I think I may want to get a little more blue in here, and again, this color, I'll need a little more here, transitioning from this color to this color. When I'm done with that, I can lose this hard edge by just gently rubbing on it. So I want to show you what I mean. I'll probably have to do this again. Got like 1,000 brushes here. Let me see what I want to use. This is just a filbert. But if we come along and touch this, I just touch this edge. This is how we soften our edges afterwards. We don't want necessarily a super hard edge here, and we also don't want, well, this arm isn't done, so I'm going to glaze this arm again. I could do that. I don't know what people want to see, if there's a...
Yeah, sure. That'd be fun. Let's do it.
All right. All right. So then I won't do that other move yet. I'll just show you how I build. So this I want to show the contour here. So I'm exaggerating what I can see on here. On the camera, this looks a little dark, but this definitely needs to be darker. So how do I do that? I get my clean water and I take my big brush, and I always want to wet past where I'm painting. So I'm not going to try and do all that up there, but I want to wet this a little bit, because I don't want to create a hard edge here. I don't want it to look like she's got a farmer's tan or something. So I want to dampen way past where I'm going to paint.
That would
now
be
I'm going to paint this part of her arm. So you can see I'm going to concentrate on this, but anything I do here will diffuse naturally and I won't get a weird line. So I'm not going to paint her hand right now, but I'll wet it anyway. Okay? And I want her to look as real as I can. That's what motivates me. I like things to look real. So the past 10 years, watercolor has gotten much more in the competitions, realism is appreciated.
Yeah.
And I'm very thankful for that, because I was one of those artists that they always told me I should loosen up, and I didn't want to.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that realistic painting is appreciated now. So I'm going to stick with the big brush for now. Whoops, I dropped something on there. I'm going to mix my skin triad. I'll take a little yellow, a little pink, and more pink, and a touch of blue. And what I'm doing is I'm making an orange, and I'm dirtying it down with a little bit of blue. So I streak that color through there, and I don't see enough of it, so I make it more intense. And then I add a little more blue to it.
So afraid I was going to mess it up.
Pardon me?
I'd be so afraid I was going to mess it up.
Well, it is kind of stressful sometimes, but I always find that if you keep going and pushing those values, that's when you're rewarded. You can ruin it, but you also can save it. So see how I've got that color right there? That's nothing to panic about. I'm going to pull this up here a little bit. I'm glad I wet that. So I'm going to streak down through here with a filbert now. This is going to have to be fixed later. That isn't quite right. So I just take the excess moisture out of my brush, and I just come in here and I say, excuse me, I don't want you there.
Excuse me.
Just gently. Just gently. And it's almost like it's airbrushed, isn't it?
Yep.
So I take a little more, no more water now. So into my brush, I take that color with more blue. I'm really going to put more value along this time. So right about here, I put it right down along this bottom, and just make a smooth stroke, let it diffuse, and then I have time. This is all wet. I have time to ask myself, okay, what do I want to do? And I want more color. I want more value. And I'm going to get this, whoops. So I went out of the line there. Don't worry about it now. You'll be
You are
filling
impressing us, Kathleen.
Pardon me?
You are impressing us.
Well, thank you. I'm sure you're hard to impress, Eric. You've seen a lot. Let's see. So through here, about there. Now I ask myself, gee, that's kind of a hard transition, isn't it? So I can still go back now. I take out the excess moisture from my brush, and then I want to make a warm orange again to transition. So what do I mean? Watch. Take out my excess moisture. So between that line and this lighter bit, I'm going to stroke in here, and I'm going to say, all right, just mix together nicely. So I made a transition from the darker color up into the shadow, and I want to hit this too.
So there's a principle that you're using here, which oftentimes in the old days, used to call it a bed bug line.
They called it what?
A bed bug line. It's where they used to talk about how the bed bugs would walk on the edge between the light and the dark. And that's
Okay.
where you put a little bit of chroma, right?
Yeah.
So you've done that.
Yes. Okay. I don't know if I want to think of myself as a bed bug painter, but
No.
yeah, that is what I'm doing.
Transition line.
Yeah, it's an important thing. I think that's one of the things that, you said you're afraid to ruin it. Everyone is. But if you don't get your watercolor, now here I don't like this, so I take that excess moisture out again, and just here I just can pull it back a little bit and soften it. I'm not sure if I'm up to the value I want to be at yet, But this is the time where I can take my brush, since everything's wet. So take out my excess moisture. Right here I came out farther than I want to. I'm going to dance my brush right there a little bit. I'll pull that off later. Right here though, I'm just going to soften this a little bit where I had that hard edge. But see how that, so glaze after glaze after glaze. If we don't get those values up where they should be, like here I've got a nice value on this one. I went in there quite a few times. And now today when I actually put this petal in, I thought to myself, this should be darker. So I always say that the middle values have to stand up to the darks. I mean, you need a transition between your mediums and your darks. And I feel like if these are going to get a little grayer when I look at my reference, I think they're going to get a little grayer down in here. So I want a little more shadow on that hand to make it make sense. So I'm always looking at my reference. I don't care how experienced you are. If you want to paint realistically, you need a good reference and you need to look at it and use it. But so now I would come back here, and after seeing that, I want the shadow on the hand to be darker than this petal. So again, I re-wet that shape, and then I can actually use the color I just made, and I'm going to just bring it through here and go a little bit darker. And another thing, we control how it goes by how we use our brush. If I just drag my brush along, I'm creating a puddle there, and I want to be conscious of that. Here I just kind of drop the paint on. So I'm creating a puddle. To be careful of that. I'm picking up water from the paper. So I'm going to come into this puddle and I'm going to drag it out farther. So I'm going to just say, okay, come up here. And then I can control, how that looks. But now, doesn't that look more like a shadowed hand? And then I'm probably going to want to do the same thing up here. But I'll keep going and building these values because I don't want her skin to look flat. I want to show the contour of her skin. It's so important. Whoops. We can't just, gotta soften that. We can't just do 2 washes on an arm or something, a petal, a bud, anything that has a roundness to it normally takes several washes to show the contour.
Well, and I wish we had the time to watch this whole thing develop, but unfortunately, we're kind of out of time.
Yeah.
Kathleen,
Okay.
how about you come on camera real quick so people can meet you if they didn't see you in the beginning?
Okay, let me
That's
find
beautiful.
my mouse.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Here, let me zoom out real quick, and then I'll put my face on.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Spectacular.
Thank you. All right.
Give her a round of applause. Thumbs up, likes. You know what to do. A question from the comments is, does it help to have lighting hitting your paper in a way that you can see the sheen of the water thickness as you paint?
Yes. Yes. Well, the way I control those washes is to know always how wet is my paint, my brush, and my paper. So yeah, you don't want it to be your light to be so intense that it you can't see what you're doing. But I think lighting, and I think, Eric, I saw you comment on it once, that the lighting that we have in our studio is so important because when we take it into other lighting, it can look so different. Yeah. So we really need some clear light in our work area. But I think that answers the question. Here, I'm kind of blowing myself
What
out.
do you use?
Pardon me?
What do you use in your studio?
I have a light strip up here that I can control. And then for filming like this, I have a camcorder, and I've had some issues with it. So I actually have bulbs that I just got that you can control. I don't know if I can show you. This, oh, it doesn't show up. It's pink.
Yeah.
That light over to the side is pink for me because I needed it to be pinker for the show today. But they're really cool lights that you can control with your phone.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, Kathleen, thank you for doing this today. Anything big coming up for you?
Watercolor live. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew you would say that.
I'm painting a portrait on watercolor live of this girl, a little different, a lot of color. We used a orange oven mitt to give her a light bounce that I talk about during the painting. And I'm doing, I'm judging the workshop, judging the show for the National Watercolor Society online show, and then I'm doing a workshop for them online in February. So I'm a busy girl.
What a great show and what a great organization. I spoke
Yeah.
at their event in New York last spring. It was fabulous.
You were at AWS and I saw you there. Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a wonderful. We're all waiting. People that entered will know in the next week or so if we got in or not. So that's always a nail biter.
Exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm sure you'll get in.
You never know. It's a hard show to get in.
Well, Kathleen, thank you again for doing this today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, Eric.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, our guest was Kathleen Giles, and you can look her up. We put all her contact information in the chat. If you are new to us today, we're here every weekday at 12 noon. On Mondays, we do art marketing. In the middle of the week, we do lessons. And then on Fridays, we do feedback and critiques on paintings. You can submit your paintings, your questions to eric@streamlinepublishing.com. And we hope that you'll subscribe to this program. Go to YouTube and build up our subscriptions. We just hit 150,000. We need 150 million. So go to YouTube and look up Art School Live and subscribe, no matter where you're watching. And there are many multiple platforms we're on as well. If you like it, share it, tell other people about it. Our goal is to teach the world to paint. And we've taught millions, but we have a millions more who don't believe they can do it, and they can do it. We just have to show them. If you watch any 5 episodes of us painting, you will get the confidence you need to know, you know what, I can do this. So do that. All right, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you, Kathleen. Have a terrific day. I'm Eric Rhoads. Bye-bye.